Welcome, friends, to a early morning and a later night edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, live from India and New York City. We are two retired New York City police detectives, and if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, consider hitting the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon, and he's here. He's somewhere over here. I'm poking him. New York to India, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload a video. Hey, I want to say thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, the replay viewers, and everyone who positively engages. Hey, it's early in the morning here, and we're not used to going live at this time. And I give you guys thanks and praise for coming and engaging with us. But before we get into our video, which is the Bryan Kohberger trial, will the jury see? What will they see on the inside of the 1122 King Road residence if it is demolished? And we're going to talk with an executive from Faro Industries about 3D laser scanning. Ed, how you doing today?
Doing good, Ron.
You know, we can't do a show without technical difficulties. I'm not able to share screens and audio. We're going to still try it. I got to rely on the audience to tell us if we're able to hear this media that I want to play to demonstrate the 3D laser scanning. But Ed, I wanted to get your take, because let's jump right into you, and then we'll get Luke on the screen. What's your take on the plans? We discussed it briefly last night. As a crime scene investigating expert, crime scene expert, what's your thoughts on the plans to demolish 1122 King Road?
Yeah, as I said last night, or this morning for me, last night for you all, I think they should hold off on that. I don't see the urgency in doing it just now, because I would hate to have something to come up during trial that was not captured or covered in the 3D laser scans, and then have that hinge or become a pivotal part of the trial. And there's no backup now because the scene is gone if it was demolished. So, yeah, it's as I said earlier, with these crime victims, having to rush to cremate the bodies before all the evidence is in, all the information is gleaned, forensic evidence and the autopsy and so forth. I'm not a fan of any of that. So I would just hold off for now and keep that house preserved for the trial.
Yeah, and that's the general consensus. I think when we did the polling, everybody said, hey, I think more than 65-70% of people were like, why? What's the rush? What's the rush to demolish this crime scene? And, if the jury are requesting a walkthrough, how will this affect a trial going forward? And, we want the wheels of justice to move forward, and we want a successful prosecution. So it is.
No, you're 100% right. But like, the scans are one thing, right? I have this math equation. All right. It's called 1 is none and 2 is 1. Okay. So the scan is 1, which is actually none. Okay. If you have the backup of the house, and God forbid the scan fails or something occurs, you have the backup. Okay. Right. If you take away the backup, you have nothing.
Yeah.
So,
and that's
I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah, it makes 100% sense, Ed. But again, they had to have come to an agreement. This is not something like it's my way or the highway. The University of Idaho does not have the final say in this. The court does, as we saw. And I showed a depiction of the crime scene cleanup company. And remember, the brakes were pumped on the request of the defense. And they stopped them from going in there right after the 30th, when Kohberger was arrested in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. So could it be possible that the court puts the brakes on the demolition of 1122 King Road, Ed? It could be.
Could be if one of the parties, such as the prosecutor, goes in there and says, I have second thoughts about this agreement. Let's put a halt to this until after the trial.
Yeah. All right, listen, it's up to the audience here. So I can hear this audio in my earpiece. If you guys can't hear this audio once I start playing it, just let me know quickly in the chat and I'll stop it. And then we'll bring Luke right on from FARO, and we'll go forward from there. But let's see. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Ed, you got your fingers crossed? I got mine crossed. Let's go. I can hear this. Can anybody hear it?
If you can hear it, give a thumbs up.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, yeah, nobody can hear it. No,
everybody's saying no.
It's the Luke show. It's the Luke show. He's laughing in the background. I see his face, but he's laughing. Ed, you want to bring on our guest?
All right, folks. You've seen him before. You love him. Is Luke from FARO, Luke Hall, former trooper, crime scene investigator, and now he goes around the country and works with FARO, teaching law enforcement about the FARO 3D laser scanner, and getting all law enforcement up to speed on the tech. So without further ado, let's bring Luke in. By the way, I see that you're saying I'm on a lag. We've had like 3 blackouts today, so just beware. If I fall out of the live stream, it's because of a lost power again.
Yeah, it happens when you're outside the United States. You're not guaranteed high-speed internet access, and that's one of the reasons why Ed hasn't been live with us, because internet is spotty. So please just bear with it. Luke, thank you for taking out your time on a Saturday morning. Our audience loves the technology, loves the demonstrations that you have given us in the past, and we appreciate you. Could you just tell us a little bit about your company and about the technology that you guys offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, thanks for having me. I'm happy to steal the show this morning since you can't play your video. It's more time to talk FARO and show you an actual crime scene that we've documented with FARO scanners. So a little bit about FARO. It's a fantastic company. One of our sectors at FARO is public safety and forensics. So we have thousands and thousands of agencies around the globe that use our scanners to document crime scenes of all types, whether it be crime, crash, fire, and then they reconstruct them in our software so that they can bring that entire scene into the courtroom, and the jury and the judge and the defense and everybody can literally virtually walk through that scene as if they were there.
Yeah, and that's invaluable in a situation where you have a potential possibility for a crime scene like this. They're talking about demolitioning it in a few short weeks. And so people have so many questions about this technology, Luke. Is it admissible in court? What happens if, God forbid, the videos and photographs that this technology takes gets deleted? Technology is technology. It's not absolute. So that's why there's so many naysayers when they talk about destruction of crime scene. How strong is this with imagery? Are jurors actually wearing VR goggles when they're watching this stuff? Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think change is hard, right? When I was first documenting crime scenes, I was laying tape, measuring tapes, and taking individual measurements, taking individual photographs throughout crime scenes. Now, in today's world, we're utilizing advanced technologies to do that work for us and to capture more data faster. That's much more accurate, right? So we can capture the scene better than we could have years ago. As to where it is today, yeah, we do have people having the ability to put on VR goggles and bring a jury through that scene. We have fly through and walk through tours of scenes. We have full 3D renderings of every inch of that scene, so you don't miss anything. So I think change is hard, but the data sets that we can capture now are far, far and above what I could have done 10 years ago to document crime scenes.
And I think, Ed, you can attest to that because you've talked about this.
Absolutely, because, when I first entered the crime scene, I was manually drafting crime scenes because of my background. And I had to teach everybody in the crime scene unit how to draw crime scene sketches, and then later how to teach them how to draw it to scale. Then I introduced CAD programs, simple, user-friendly CAD programs, because the more professional CAD programs like AutoCAD or Project Architect, Project Engineer. It was too complicated for the crime scene investigators to learn how to use those. So, and then your company bought out a CAD program that we used in the NYPD crime scene unit, and now it's part of the FARO software.
Yeah, it's just amazing how far we've come. You know, when you hear the conversations about crime scene of the old and crime scene of now and the future, you know, here in the current day, it's just amazing. And Ed, you talked. We had the MVAC. Jared, I believe his name was. Jared came on. His dad was the creator of this MVAC system. I know that that's going to come into play in this case as well. Collecting hair and fibers. We already know that there's a possible recovery of dog hair at the Pullman apartment, and there's just a treasure trove as we talk about this, of evidence that's collected, and there's so much of it that we don't even know about. Ed, is that the bat phone? Is the bat phone going off?
What'd you hear?
Something buzzing. I heard a buzzing.
Well, I know what we didn't hear. we didn't hear your video.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for just going full circle and coming back and hitting me over the head with a hammer while I'm down. Luke, so the main part of our discussion today, and we're gonna be presenting a shorter program due to the fact that DutyRon is down and out with some of his audio issues here. I wanted you to present for the audience. Now, I put a disclaimer out, and I'll do it again. If you suffer from PTSD or any type of scenes that might last, here we're going to be showing a crime scene. And now this is a scene that is no longer being investigated. It's not an active investigation. This case is over and done with, but it is a depiction of the technology that FARO uses. And it's a barbershop inside a crime scene, and it's going to show real live human, a human that was shot and killed inside a location. So if you do suffer from any of this type of, PTSD and so forth, I would ask that you maybe click out and then come back after we're done with this presentation. But Luke, I appreciate you doing this, because this will give our audience a real depiction of what a potential jury can see in the University of Idaho quadruple murder case. So if you can, I don't know if you still have that thing queued up, just briefly explain to the audience what we're going to be seeing, what the technology is, and how it's presented in a court.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Ron said, he's received a lot of questions as to, how do we know that these investigators captured the entire scene and that it's going to be of the quality that we expect in the courtroom, right? What are we going to see when this hits trial? What is it going to look like in this crime scene? Is it going to be realistic, or is it going to be a basic diagram with some photos? So we've got an actual homicide scene. This occurred in the U.S., and it was a barbershop. There was a shooting that occurred in the barbershop. I believe 6 people were shot, 3 of which were fatally struck. One remained inside of the barbershop and was deceased when first responders arrived. 2 of the others were transported, the other 5 were transported, 2 of which passed away at the hospital. So you're going to see an actual crime scene with the deceased individual still there. And I'm just going to show you what it actually looks like, an actual scene, and what you can and can't do with the current technologies.
And Luke, before you do that, you can start setting it up. I wanted to ask you and Ed a question, and this is going to be for the audience. In the crime scene at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, do we have confirmation, or would it be correct to assume that the Idaho State Crime Lab took their 3D laser scans with these 4 victims at the location? I'll start with you, Ed, and then I'll go to Luke.
Well, if they're doing their jobs right, that's what should be done. That you scan with all the evidence undisturbed, including the victims' bodies present. That's what the scanner is documenting, measuring, taking millions of points of measurements, measuring where all the evidence is, measuring the exact positions of the bodies and so forth in situ as they're found. That's the way it should be done. It makes no sense to have the bodies removed and then bring the scanner in, okay, because the crime scene has been altered. You want to scan the crime scene as you found it.
Right. Yeah, and that's 100% understandable. But I receive so many questions about that. What's the people saying words to the effect of, "What's the sense in using this technology? The bodies aren't there. The murder victims are not there. They're removed, and now they just have 3D laser scans of inside of the location." Luke, can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So as the investigators, when we show up on scene, we have to deal with what we have. A lot of times those bodies were removed from the scene to try to get medical treatment to save them, right? So that victim is not always there, right? Or some of that evidence could have been moved by first responders when they were trying to work on people and rescue them. So the goal, like to Ed said, is you want to document everything as is in the position it was when you arrived on scene. So yes, everything that was there should have not been disturbed, and they should have scanned the scene. If those victims were still there, they will be in these 3D laser scans. I was able to confirm that FARO scanners were used on the Idaho scene, both by the investigative side and the defense. So both should have captured similar scenes.
So that's an interesting confirmation. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah. So that's a good point, Luke. But the defense scans are going to be totally different than the crime scene investigator scans, because the crime scene had been altered tremendously by the time the defense got in, to the point that even personal belongings were removed from the scene. And I believe even furniture was removed from the scene.
It was after Kohberger was arrested. So you're right, Ed. A lot of stuff was removed from that scene.
Yeah.
Right.
So, the defense will obviously have, the actual physical positioning of all the evidence isn't going to be there for defense because it was collected, They will, however, have the entire structure or scene captured, just not with the actual physical evidence. But later they can take, because they've obviously owned the same software, so they could take the raw data files that the investigators had and input those items back into the scene in the exact same positions from the data sets that they captured later.
Right.
And that's part of the discovery. They're entitled to that information, and they'll get it.
Yeah. Ed, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say. Another thing I wanted to set up before we show this stuff, because people will have these questions while we're showing it live, Luke. When your company sells a FARO system to a particular law enforcement agency, is it just packaged and given software and said, "Here, have fun with it"? Can you tell the audience a little bit about what goes into what you guys do, on your end to have these folks out in the field use this proficiently?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do not just sell scanners and give them the green light to go start documenting and reconstructing homicide scenes, right? There is a full-blown, robust FARO certification course where we will have 3D laser scanning expert, many of which are former law enforcement and have documented hundreds, if not thousands of scenes with 3D scanners, come in and train and certify them. It is a minimum 3-day course where it's 3 full days of training with the 3D laser scanners and our software. At the end of it, there is an exam that they have to pass or they don't get their certification. And during that course, they also talk about not only documenting and reconstructing scenes with the technology, but also their obligations to give it to defense, to testify in court, what are best practices. So it is not what many people think. It's a full-blown certification.
Wow. So they are efficiently using this equipment, and that is just, that's reassuring. Some of the folks in the chat are saying that a lot of the personal effects were removed during the course of the crime scene being up. Remember, Ed, we went crazy with that. The chief rented a U-Haul with the state police and other personnel, and they were removing stuff. FARO 3D laser scans were done before that occurred. So all of those items for the naysayers in the audience and for the naysayers who are following this and a lot of the Debbie Downers, they have the complete documented scene. I believe, and Ed, you can correct me because your memory is like a sponge. Your brain. The chief of police said the first call he made was to the Idaho State Crime Lab. Correct, Ed?
I remember saying, yeah, he called for assistance from the state lab. Yeah.
Immediately. So depending on their response time, they could have been there within hours. And if that scene was effectively controlled after the chaos of all the kids coming, remember we had that chaos where the phone calls were happening and it was 8 hours later and kids from friends and so forth were converging on the scene. Yes, there is that tainted crime scene aspect. We cannot deny that. We cannot confirm it, but we'd have to imagine that, yeah, there was a bunch of 20, 21-year-old kids running in and out of that scene, panicking, freaking out. Police got there, and I hope that the Moscow Police Department immediately took their academy training and said, wait, crime scene preservation, get out, back everybody out. Let's shut the door and not allow anybody to go in there. And then this is what brings us straight forward to today. Luke, you ready with the presentation? And again, if you suffer from PTSD, this is going to show some graphic images and some graphic video of real live human beings that were killed in some crimes.
Before we get started, there's a question that's coming up over and over again in the chat. Yes, scanning should be one of the first things done at the crime scene. It's up there with photography because one, it does photos. Two, it does the measurements. Okay. Yeah, we're going to do our own digital SLR camera photographs. We're going to take those as well. But I almost called the competition out. The FARO will be taking photographs as well and doing the measurements. And then we'll do a rough sketch by hand. And we may take one or two, rough measurements, tape measure or a handheld laser measure. But for the most part, the scanner should be in the forefront of the crime scene investigation to document everything as is before anything gets moved.
Right. Yeah. And the videos, the high resolution videos and pictures, that's just a standard package with crime scene when a crime scene unit responds, right? High res videos, 4K or high definition video of the entire interior of that home. This is over and above what we're talking about here now. This is a whole nother aspect of this. Again, hold your questions to the end of the show because in the last 15 minutes, we'll take a period of some call-ins and or some people in the chat. If you have questions, #Luke, #Ed, #Ron, and we'll get to your questions. Are you ready to rock and roll? I'll add it to the screen when you let me know.
I'm ready.
What are we going to be showing them now before we put this on?
So this is going to be a file that would be shared with the district attorney's office and the defense to allow everybody to virtually jump into that scene as if they were there. They could take measurements. They could view 360-degree panoramic images from each scan position. So I'm just going to bring you right into the crime scene.
Excellent. All right. Well, here we go. I'm going to go full screen with it. They're going to be able to hear us speaking, and you could just, let them know what they're seeing.
Sounds good. Can you guys see what I'm seeing?
Yes.
It is a top-down with all these little bubbles on the screen.
Yeah, let me remove my branding. Hold on a second. Don't do anything yet. Let me remove this. Okay. There we go.
So what this shows is a top-down, scaled, I guess, for lack of a better word, image of this crime scene. You'll see there's a person in the middle of the screen right here that is laying down and deceased on the floor, and there's a bunch of bubbles on the screen. These bubbles are every single position where this agency scanned. So if I click on this bubble, I can jump into the scene as if I was actually there when this was taken.
Let's hold it right there. Let's hold it right there. Okay, so as he said, he clicked on the bubble. This is the actual crime scene, and this is done with FARO 3D laser scanning. You can see details, and this is through the internet. when Luke, correct me if I'm wrong, when this is presented in a courtroom, it's going to be a lot higher in quality because we're processing it through my software for my live streaming, and you're sending it to me through your Wi-Fi. When this is presented straight through with the software into a computer, it's a lot more crisp. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's correct. It's crystal clear, at least on my end right now within the software.
Yeah, it is mine too. Folks, now in the old school, I would have to go in there and do a hand floor plan of this barbershop on the drawing and take extensive measurements of all the walls, all the furniture, where everything is positioned, the barber chairs, and each one of those yellow evidence markers, and that's what they are, evidence markers. They come in numbers and they come in numerals, alphabet rather, and they're ballistics evidence all over there. And I would have to measure to 2 points each piece of evidence that's by a marker, and I would have to have a spreadsheet of all the evidence and all the measurements as to where the evidence is. Here with the scanner, it's taking the photographs, it's getting the measurements. So if Luke just showed you right there at the base of that bench there, he's got a measurement between two pieces of evidence number 26 and evidence 21, and it's showing you in that little bubble there what that measurement is.
So for the audience that's watching, and that if you're just coming in on a replay, this is a demonstration of the 3D laser scanning from FARO. In crime scene and evidence collection, this is state-of-the-art, top quality, real live what the crime scene looks like. And in the Moscow quadruple murders, this is what the jury is going to be able to see inside of 1122 King Road, whether it's still standing or it's knocked down. They're going to be able to get right in and stand right next to these potential victims. And if you can, Luke, when you get a chance, if you can get right up on that decedent, we could show you guys exactly what the potential is for jurors to see inside of 1122 King Road. And again, I'm going to go full screen with this. This is an actual crime scene. This person was shot in the head. Ed, can you take it from here?
Okay, yeah. So you see the victim in the actual position that the victim fell. You can also see that EMS was there, worked on that victim, because now the victim may have been altered in its position, because I could see evidence that EMS had put meters and equipment on the victim, trying to get vitals and so forth, to do some resuscitation, try to save the life there. But then you also saw the blood, and you saw that the floor is not level. You could see how the blood drained away from the body of the victim, because it will follow gravity and seek its low points, which is going to be one of the issues found in that house in Idaho with the blood. And you can see how clear and precise this information is. Now we have measurements.
All right, Ed just froze up. Yeah, Luke, this is
Here.
This is
Exactly where that body is, because the scanner took millions of measurements. The body isn't at the scene.
All right. Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you to do, Luke. You read my mind. Just now you could show different angles. You can go to the left side, the right side. Now this is a shot from looking straight down at this murdered victim. And you could just go to all the different, you said there were 6 victims, 3 that were deceased in this crime scene. I, right off the bat, saw a couple of other potential scenes where others were shot in this location just by you showing it. I saw another scene with there was all blood in another location. But this is just an invaluable tool that the jurors in the Bryan Kohberger trial will have access to, thanks to FARO 3D laser scanners.
Well, there is a caveat, all right? We don't know the exact settings that the scans of the scene were taken at, because you can change the resolution of the scans. So the operator has the ability to go high res and then reduce it to lower res capabilities?
All right, I'm gonna remove Luke until he fixes that. That's something with his Wi-Fi probably. Yeah. So Ed, there's many different possibilities, but we hope for the best that they got as much as they could possibly get from from 1122 King Road, and Luke got the confirmation that his product was used there by
That's correct,
the crime scene processing unit. So Idaho did take these scans. Let me go to the chat because look, here's Amy Mayer. She says, "Did Idaho take the scans? Do we know for sure?" I got confirmation from Luke Faro that yes, they did take these scans. So this technology and this advanced crime scene look, as we just showed you on the screen, is going to be what they're going to have access to. But here's the thing: we know for a fact that the medical attention, there was no, at least what we know of, there was no medical aid rendered, and these victims were not removed. These victims were removed from that location once the crime scene was processed.
That's correct. And to answer Angela's question, yes, you can take the color out of the photographs here and turn these images into black and white.
There you have it. Thank you for that, Ed. All right, so Luke might have had, because he said he got a whole bunch of snow, so he might have gotten knocked off the internet. That's what it looked like. We saw the little round circles going on. I'm sure that he'll come back and rejoin us if he can. But this is, again, here J Dubs is saying she's blown away. This will be immensely helpful for law enforcement. It's going to be helpful for the prosecution, not for law enforcement. It's going to be helpful for this prosecution team. This is what they're going to use. Wasn't this technology used in Murdoch's trial?
No, allegedly it wasn't the scans. I saw information that there were no scans done, but I heard, but then I saw a testimony of somebody that said they had done scans. So I was a little confused as to what was going on here. But anyhow, let me just talk about the 3D goggles, the virtual reality goggles. The VR goggles, the jurors just don't wear them and sit in their chair. Once the image is brought up into the virtual reality goggles, the juror gets up and can walk themselves through the crime scene and literally walk. So you'd have to move all the obstructions and furniture and so forth, and they could literally walk through a space that is not the crime scene, but is now represented in the virtual reality goggles and walk through that area. For instance, we do these scans, like we produce avatars and we do scans of various buildings, say a hospital or a school. And once we have those scans, we can then take a SWAT team, like our ESU, give them a virtual reality set of goggles, put them in an airplane hangar, and have them do their exercises looking for active shooter scenario with the virtual reality goggles and our 3D, our laser guns, as opposed to real guns and simunitions. And we can do, excuse me, we can do force on force training where we shoot at our officers. The officers shoot at the bad guys, and if somebody gets hit, they get an electrical zap. And so we can change the scenario based upon the scans we took. So we can have a school in one scenario, we can have a hospital in another scenario, or we can have Times Square in another scenario, or city subway, and then put them through this virtual reality active shooter training, and so that they can prepare, say they have to do a raid on a city school or something to that effect. It's great training, and the scanners are not only used for crime scene work, but it's also used for that training work as well.
That's fascinating to find out that law enforcement is advancing themselves with the training and doing these what you're describing here, and that's invaluable information for crime enthusiasts that follow these cases to know that as each day goes on and as each year passes, advancements take place, and that's fantastic to hear it.
Now
I
we have a
wanted,
buddy of mine.
go ahead.
Okay. We have a buddy of mine who's retired NYPD as well, and he works with this virtual reality training company, and he's developing these various scenarios. And now we have a virtual reality training crime scene scenario where the crime scene investigators put on the VR goggles and walk through the crime scene and practice processing the crime scenes in virtual reality.
Wow, that's amazing. Cindy Holenbeck is boots on the ground. She lived in Moscow, Idaho. She's in Pullman, Washington now. She works at the Washington State University. She says Idaho gave more money for the case. Yeah, remember there was that $1 million injection by the governor, state of Idaho, on this case. I'm sure that was to, further enhance the, crime scene processing and the lab work. I have a ton of stuff that I want to show. Luke has already just sent me a message. He had to reboot his router, his Wi-Fi, because of the storm. I think he said he got about a foot of snow up in the Northeast. So I wanted to show Faro Industries because I thought it was important for us to show the website. I want to promote them. Again, they go around to law enforcement across the country, and this is their website, faro.com. I have it linked down below in the description. And, it goes over all the various different applications for their 3D laser scanners. It's not just only for crime scenes, but it's also for, general industry as well. Eliminating the guesswork in production, identifying quality issues fast, bringing design to straight to reality. This company is doing some great stuff. And Ed, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Luke, when he was on us the last time, he said that there was various grants and so forth and you expanded on that and talked about some Department of Homeland Security grants. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there are Homeland Security grants. That's how I purchased my first set of scanners and there are grants from the Department of Justice, National Institute of Justice, that you can purchase forensic equipment for. There's grants from the Department of Transportation, especially for accident investigations to open up the highways after a fatality crash as quick as possible. The scanners are very useful in that regard of doing the crash investigation and getting those interstate commerce moving. Same thing for trains and airplane accidents and things of that nature. The FAA, National Transportation Safety Board, and all these other entities. There are plenty of federal government agencies that offer grants that you can pick up these scanners for, so it doesn't necessarily have to come out of the law enforcement agency's budget.
Absolutely, and that makes it so much easier to get this technology in hand. And I believe, Ed, you said when you first started seeing the laser scanners, it was a different company. We won't use the L word here, but when these scanners first came out, the price was in the hundreds of, it was like $100-something thousand. I believe
my first scanner cost $120,000.
Yeah, and Luke told us on our last stream that the package, this complete package with the software and the training, is somewhere around $50,000 to $60,000. So that's
even less now.
Right, it's encouraging to have more law enforcement agencies and state, federal, and local partners have this in their arsenal, because it is unbelievable. And Wild Z Pony says it's unbelievable, and I'm beyond impressed. Let's open up the chat to some questions. Put your questions in the chat. Put hashtag Ed or hashtag DutyRon. And anyone who's given super chats along the course of the way, thank you so much for the support. If you're not yet subscribed to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, please consider now hitting the subscribe button. And everybody that's here, if you could give this video a thumbs up right now while you're here, Ed and I will greatly appreciate that. I am going to put a link in the chat if you want to join us to ask some questions. I think Luke has made it back. Let's just wait and see. Hopefully he's good. I'm going to pin that comment. So if you have any questions, keep it related to the FARO 3D laser scanner. Luke, we got you back. What happened?
Sorry, we just had a big snowstorm last night, and I am not sure.
Yeah.
I think we lost service here for about 5 minutes, so we're back up and running.
All right. So, Luke, you were back. We were talking about that crime scene in the barber shop. Is there any way that you can get that back up so we can expand just a little bit more on that and take a peek around a little bit more?
Absolutely. I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. Yeah, so we were talking as you were pulling that up about the grants that you spoke about the last time, and then Ed expanded on the Department of Homeland Security and different various grants from the Department of Transportation and such. What's the cost of this complete package? A FARO 3D laser scanner. You said around 50 grand, or was it more than that?
Yeah, it's 50 to 70, depending on which unit they want. If they're doing larger scenes for like crash reconstruction, they're going to want one of our larger scanners. So it'll push it up towards 65 to 70. If it's mostly crime scenes, it's between 50 and 60 grand. That's the average size deal.
Right. And look, here's somebody, Amy Mayer says, DutyRon, hashtag DutyRon. Fox News has the FARO reconstruction of the Murdoch property. Can you confirm or deny that, Luke?
I can. I know it was used on both the investigative side and defense.
Oh, okay, great.
Right. Wasn't it, because I heard conflicting information about that, but SLED did it, right? I believe SLED did a scan of the crime scene.
Yeah, so yesterday I actually was able to confirm both sides used it.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, we're going to add this back to the stream. What are we looking at, Luke? It's the Luke show. Take over.
Yes, sir. So this is, again, the top down. And any bubble that we click on, we can just jump right into that scene and look around. So the other really nice thing about this, just so they understand the difference, it takes these 360-degree photos, but it also is LiDAR technology. So it is millions and millions of physical data points that it captures. It captures 2 million per second as it spins around. So you can go from black and white like this, which is the LiDAR measurement ability, or in the click of a button, you can jump back to the full color scene. And this is the imaging.
Wow. And you can see the vehicles outside when you go to the LiDAR imaging. It actually accentuates the outside. Like right now, you don't see it as well. There's the vehicle parked out there. Yeah. So there's a truck.
There's a bullet hole. See the bullet hole in the glass as well?
Oh, wow.
And you can't see that.
With the color. Yeah. With
So
the
it gives you the contrast.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So it's really great for investigators because it allows you to see different things. A lot of times blood is picked up really, really well, or like accelerant splash patterns for arson scenes. If you switch over to the black and white version, you can see it really well.
Oh,
yeah. And also it's great for bloodstain pattern analysis and shooting reconstruction. You can put your rods into the appropriate bullet holes there if you have the 2 points of reference, and then you could use the software to extend the rod's trajectories out beyond where the rod ends. So you not necessarily have to use, a ballistic laser at the end of the rod. You could use the software to give you your cone with its tolerance of plus or minus 10 degrees and so forth.
Can you hold it back there to that blood on the other side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is here to the right of that barber chair where the balloons are. Yeah. So this obviously was another victim that was probably transported to the hospital, we would have to imagine. But Ed, I wanted you to expand on the yellow markers with the numbers and the letters to explain to the audience, walk them through what this is in crime scene unit, what you guys do as part of the
so they're photography evidence markers, and they are this particular type has a built-in what's known as an ABFO scale. That's the American Board of Forensic Odontology scale built right into the marker. So it's like a little L-shaped scale, and so you can slide the marker with the scale by each piece of evidence. And our standard forensic photography consists of long-range photographs, medium range with and without scales and numbers, and close-ups with and without scales and numbers. So I'm sure in here in the presentation you can click on the bubble there, and it can get you that information about the evidence that's present and what it looks like. Luke, do you have that capability?
We do. So what Ed is talking about is, so typically they're going to scan the scene first with a 3D laser scanner, preserve all critical pieces of evidence from multiple angles. And then they're going to go through and take their traditional photographs from, long range, medium range, close range. Those close range photos with a scale bar are typically attached to each piece of evidence in this data set, so that when the investigators send this case file to their prosecutor and the defense, they're going to have everything all in one file. And in the click of a button, so like here is one of the attachments, they can, from within the scene, click on it and bring out the full report and or images. So in this particular case, this is the trajectory report that comes with this case.
Wow.
And see that, folks, that what you're looking at there is a cone of probability for the trajectory, because there is a tolerance of plus or minus 10 degrees. Anywhere within that circle, our shooter could be standing and make that trajectory.
That's fascinating. For those of you who are joining, this is a demonstration of the FARO 3D laser scan, this is an actual crime scene that is no longer active. This case is no longer being prosecuted. It's over and done with. And Luke Hall is from FARO. He's demonstrating for you guys. So for those of you who are joining late, this is an actual crime scene. This is not a reenactment, but this is to depict and show an example of the potentials of this this technology. And it was used in the 1122 King Road homicide crime scene of the Moscow.
Luke, can you bring up a close-up of one of the pieces of evidence?
I don't have it in this case file. They didn't do it in this particular case.
Oh, in that data set. Okay.
Yep. No, they didn't do it here.
Okay. But folks, that's what these numbers and the alphabet letters are surrounding evidence. Okay. And you can even see, if you scan to the right a little bit, there's a piece of evidence that's up on the counter. Number 40 is up on the counter. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
And is there any information on that number 40?
It looks like that is a cell phone.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And a lighter next to it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Now this particular case, they did a lot of things with it actually, and I'm going to just show you quickly just some of the fly-throughs that they created, just to better show the jury what it looks like overall, instead of jumping from scanner head to scanner head and looking at the scene with the photos. They did fly-through videos to have a better kind of aerial look at the spatial relationships throughout the scene.
So this is an overhead view with the roof off, and giving them the full overview of the entire crime scene.
Yep, exactly.
And then can you go through the front door with this?
Yeah. So if you create a video, you could go right through the front door. What I'll do though, to better, just 1 second, let me pull this right up for you guys. We're going to jump into the point cloud and we're going to walk right through the front door. How's that sound?
Oh, that sounds awesome. And if you're just joining, again, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit that little thumbs up on the video. We greatly appreciate it. When you're ready, I'll add it back to the screen. You ready?
Not quite. It's going to take about 10 more seconds.
All right. So again, thank you to the moderators, the replay viewers, and everybody who has joined this interactive live stream. This is a demonstration of the technology used at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho.
Okay, we're good, Ron, when you're ready.
I am here. Let them know we're going to be walking through the front door of this crime scene.
Yeah. So the great part about this is the actual 3D rendering of the entire space that they scanned. So in our software, you can move around through the scene in whatever way you would like.
Now you're in the front door.
Now we're in the front door. I can look around. I can also move up and around. And I can actually physically move through the scene whichever way I want.
This is unbelievably fantastic technology.
And this is what I was talking about when I said it just allows the jury to move throughout the scene as if they were there. And they can look at things and examine it from different angles, just as if they were the investigator, and just better understand what happened throughout this scene. It also gives them the ability to do their own measurements, to take screenshots, to do a bunch of different things.
And, you know, folks, remember I told you about certain cases where witnesses said they saw things, and if you want to test the veracity of their statement, say the witness says, oh, okay, I was sitting in the wash sink, towards the wash sink, getting my hair washed in the back of the barbershop, and this is what I saw from that location. Well, you can put this camera in that location and then pan there and see if, in fact, what the witness said can be seen.
So this is just an example of what Ed just said. If you have a witness sitting in this chair right here and they're getting their hair done and they hear somebody barge through the front door and start shooting, you could literally position yourself right in their spot and say, what could they see? You know, and you'll see over here, there's a trajectory rod right through there. That was one of the paths of travel of
one of the rounds.
The rounds. Yep. And then, like, you know, even if you want to know, okay, how far is the gentleman that's deceased here from the entrance? So we're going to go through, just say mid body to the entrance door. Okay. It's 23.970 feet. That's how far he was from when they made entry to the time that he had passed.
And that is real time with the software open. You just drew that line from him to the door, and boom, you got that measurement.
Exactly.
Yeah, and MK says it almost makes you feel like you were there. It is like you are there. And Ed talked about the VR goggles. How does that add to the intensity for a jury pool to have VR goggles on and watching what we're watching here? It's really not doing it justice, because with those VR goggles, I would imagine it's much more real life and in person.
It is. When you throw on a VR goggle set, especially if it's a quality one, you feel as if you're there when you're walking through the space. You know, typically in a courtroom, they would cordon off an area where there's nothing around it. They would put them in VR goggles, and then they give them space to walk around as if they were in there, because it just puts them right back in that actual scene.
Yeah. Here's people again in the chat. Here's a comment. Someone saying, "I think that they just took regular photos." I don't know, gentlemen. What's your comment to that comment?
No, they were all outside operating the laptop that was controlling the scanner on the inside. You know, I've seen that operation. I've done that operation. So when I saw the images of them outside at the back of the pickup truck, and they were operating the scanner from outside, so they had the scanners running inside. They also took, you know, digital SLR photographs.
Right, which are very high res. I mean, you take one of these DSLR cameras, and I have one right here. And I'll put this on screen so you guys can see it. If you took photos with a camera like this, you know, you're gonna be getting some high res photos and videos. This camera can do video as well. Mm-hmm. So you know, I know that there's a whole bunch of that going on. And Ed, when we were live and we were playing the media. Oh, there goes my camera, just busted. When we were playing the news media from the people that were outside, the crime scene investigators. You immediately said, this was before we got together with Luke. You were like, oh no, that's the 3D laser scan. And you asked me asked me go back to that, and we did.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
they were actually outside the crime scene with the scanner inside the crime scene, and they were operating it from outside. Mm-hmm. In fact, you see this scan right here that's currently up here. Luke, correct me if I'm wrong. The black circle outside the on the sidewalk where it looks like snow is and everything out there.
Yep.
That's the position of the scanner at one point.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the only thing the scanner is not going to capture is what's directly beneath it. So you might see some circles on some scan data sets, because that's where the scanner was when it was working. but it's going to spin around 360 degrees. It's going to capture 2 million measurable points per second as it scans. And then when it's done capturing physical measurable data points with millimeter accuracy, then it captures 68 high-def photographs all the way around 360 degrees. The only thing it does not capture is what's directly below it. It'll get anything on the ceiling, the walls, any surfaces that it can see from the scanner.
Right. And then you move its position around, and then it automatically will then take all the scans and put it together.
That's correct. It stitches those scans together for you to create your full 3D perfect model of your scene.
I'm trying to get back the original video that you did with us, because you actually activated the FARO 3D laser scanner while we were live with you. Let me see if I have that. Yeah, here it is. It's right here. All right, so this is from the original video. Unfortunately, because I don't have capabilities to hold on. I want to share my screen now. Let me remove you, and then hold on. Let's see if we can do this. Present. No, we can't even do that now. I wonder why. Oh, here it is. All right, so here you are, and of course I can't put the audio on, but you we saw it spinning around. Yeah, there you're reaching down. So this is it in the background, folks. It's up on a tripod. Like here, there. Now you just reach down and you engaged it, and then it starts moving from here. So this thing will go around and take how many images per?
So it takes 68 high-def images, and it goes around and captures the measurable data points all at the same scan position.
Wow. Fascinating.
So
listen.
So here's my phone, folks, and you might see it there. There's an app. It's right here. I'll hit it, FARO Stream, okay? And I can turn on the app, and I can operate the scanner from my phone.
Wow.
Yeah, what's really great about that app is now while investigators are scanning these scenes, they can see the scans coming in live in real time. So as they're working through their scene, they can see the scans coming in, and they can see each scan snapping together to register in real time. So it's literally putting the scene together as you're going through it. It's just a really powerful tool for investigators to have to ensure they don't miss anything while they're there.
Right. Well, I think this has been a very informative hour. It went by so fast. I want to thank you for taking the time out to come back to educate our audience, because I think this video, although it is graphic in detail, is just so informative, because people who are following not just this case, but cases in the future where this technology is used now have a great understanding of the capabilities that the prosecution and the defense. Because you had mentioned too, and I want to put this out there. You had mentioned that this comes into play sometimes to help exonerate somebody if in fact they are being falsely accused. So this is a great tool, and even the MBAC system too was used, as Jared told us, to help exonerate folks who are not guilty of committing these crimes. So I want to thank you so much, and Ed, you coming on here with us from India is just, we do appreciate you. We appreciate the time that you take out, the knowledge that you share with us. You're loved by this community and beyond. There's communities that are talking about you, Ed, that have nothing to do with Crime Time with DutyRon. So thank you so much for the knowledge that you help give and spread to all of us. Ed Wallace's book is available. I have it linked down in the description, Crime Scene 4th edition. I had like 5 inquiries last night on where they could buy it. I have it linked on DutyRon.com. It's in my Amazon store, and it's in the description of this video, along with all of Faro Industries website. Luke, I'm sharing your LinkedIn address.
Great.
So everybody could go and follow him on LinkedIn, because there's a lot of stuff that he posts in regards to the technology and such. Do you have any final words for the audience in regards to 1122 King Road and the 3D laser scanner?
No, I think that they're obviously using the most advanced technology available to try to solve crime and seek justice, right? And it's just nice to see that and almost every major case out there that I'm seeing, 3D laser scanners are being utilized to document those scenes and reconstruct them. And it's great to see, because I think law enforcement in general is really embracing technology to try to better what they do and be as professional as they can. But also, to your point, it helps, victims seek justice, and it helps protect people at times where in their defense case. So I'm just happy to see it.
Absolutely. Hey, and I promised to chat, Ed, and I know that you concur with what he just said, and all the information that we covered in this 58 minutes, now an hour-long video. You guys can go back and rewatch it. But I promised everyone we would look at the chat. So can we take like 5 minutes to take a peek at it? There were some people asking, can the scanner recording be edited or doctored? So this is Gayla Dennis, and she's bringing this up because of integrity.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that, Luke?
Yeah, I'm so happy this question was asked. So yes, the short answer is FARO is the only company with a patent on this. They call it digital hashing of data. And what that is after every single scan is done, as soon as the scan finishes, it puts a forensic fingerprint on that scan data to prove that it has not been changed or manipulated in any way. And nobody can do anything to ever change that without it throwing errors and alerting people that somebody messed with this, right? So yes, the short answer is FARO's well above the rest of the field in that aspect, and good stuff.
Let me just say this, Luke. You just killed about 100 hours of content for the conspiracy theorists out there. I want to thank you for putting that to bed and chopping them off at the knees. Ed, you got a question that you just highlighted. Let's go to that. But
I'm going to. Very good. Yes, I'm going to answer this one out. Yes. So, folks, with this, with the scanner, we have a NIST, a National Institute of Standards target pole. Right. You scan the target pole first, and it has a specific measurement between the targets, and when you scan it, it comes back to that measurement. So it tells you that your scanner is accurate. You conduct your scans of the scene, and then at the end, this is what I'm telling you is what a protocol that many crime scene units that are ISO or ASCLD certified do with these scanners. So you scan your target pole first before you use the scanner on the scene to make sure that your scanner is giving you the exact measurements that's associated with the NIST pole. Then you scan your scene. Then you rescan the pole after you scan your scene to make sure you're still getting the exact measurements. So that's how you know that your the scanner is working and is accurate.
Yeah, very good explanation. Yeah, I'll just add a little bit to that. First off, good explanation. So there's, where NIST certified devices are used on every crime scene, and that's what's taught in the course, right? But in addition to that, in the software, there is an error report that is printed at the end of each scene that you work to provide with your case file. So it'll show every single scan and its error rate associated with it, so that when you hit that courtroom and you have a Dauber hearing or a Fry hearing or something, you have the actual facts and the data to back it up.
This is great information, and we're covering all the bases here. And thank you to the audience for bringing up some of these great questions for my esteemed colleagues here that have the information and are able to speak strongly about it. So that's what's great about this. And I'm just tickled pink that question was asked about the recreating, and folks, who say, people could go in there and change it and so forth. That fingerprint technology is awesome. And there's always going to be someone that says, well, anything that's on the internet can be, or any type of technology can be hacked. Yeah, Yeah, it can, but we don't live our lives like that. We want to, again, dot your I's and cross your T's, and Faro is right at the forefront of, bringing this to the forefront. So great job, great job. I want to say thank you to the replay viewers and the chatters, the people who are moderating for us today. You guys are the unsung heroes because you're not getting paid to do this. You're doing it out of the love for the community. So thank you to our moderators for being here and keeping this a classy place and respectful. Again, Luke and Ed, I want to thank you guys for taking out the time of your busy day. Here it's the weekend, Ed. I know this is your R&R time to catch up on the week. So thank you so much. Luke, will you promise to come back again and grace us with your presence? Maybe the Wi-Fi will, on all of our ends, will be a little bit better. I'll be able to present audio. Ed will have better Wi-Fi. Listen, it is what it is. This is what we got. So thank you so much. Ed, you got any final words for the group?
As usual, folks, stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
Yes, and as I always like to say, let's get behind these crime victims' families and support them. Let's support our law enforcement across the country. They are the difference. They are what's in between evil and justice. Bringing justice is what this is all about. So, Luke, thank you so much again. We'll talk to you soon, and have a great day from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Thank you guys for joining. Peace from New York and various other locations.
Good night from India.
There you go. Thank you, Ed. All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Luke.